Hello, everyone. It's great to join you. Bulgakov's most internationally famous work, The Master and the Margarita, is especially relevant around this time of year, whether we happen to follow the Catholic or Orthodox calendars. Back in 1974, in an issue of the Russian Review, Edward Erickson commented on the importance of Easter to the construction of the overarching plot structure. As he wrote, the setting in time corroborates the idea that Satan's incarnation in modern Moscow is a parody of Christ's crucifixion in ancient Jerusalem. In both cases, the time is the second half of Holy Week, culminating on Easter Sunday. Bulgakov retains the biblical timetable of events in his version of the Passion of Christ. The story of Yeshua HaNostri, Jesus Christ in Aramaic, begins in sunlight on the morning of Good Friday. He is crucified at noon at the sun's height, the crucifixion being a blessed event and not a calamity, since through it redemption is provided for man. There is a reference to Jesus' dinner with Judas on Thursday night, doubtless Bulgakov's truncated version of the Last Supper. Christ's resurrection occurs on Easter Sunday morning. Satan comes to Moscow on Wednesday, significantly at sunset. His magic show at the Variety Theatre occurs on Thursday night. Satan's rout is held on Friday night, the night when God, in the person of Jesus, died and descended into hell. As a side note, this doctrine of Jesus' harrowing of hell is taught in the Catholic, Orthodox, Lutheran, and Reformed traditions, although some Christians reject the scriptural evidentiary basis for it. To continue quoting from Erickson, at sunset of Saturday, Satan and his retinue must leave. The Russian Orthodox ecclesiastical calendar retained the Jewish system of starting the new day at 6 o'clock p.m. and not midnight. The Master and Margarita were reunited on Good Friday night, the first fruits of Christ's victory through his death and resurrection. The novel ends with the transfiguration of the Master and the Margarita and the disappearance of Satan and his demons into the abyss at dawn of Sunday. No natural earthly events take place on Sunday. It is a day of the supernatural, the eternal day. The Russian word for Sunday means the day of resurrection. The Master and Margarita enter into their eternal refuge then. So this novel is built around three plots which intertwine with one another. One is an apocryphal or untrustworthy account of Christ's dialogue with Pontius Pilate, leading to his execution and resurrection. Another is the arrival in Soviet Moscow of the devil in the guise of an enigmatic foreign professor and stage magician. And the third is the story of a writer named the Master and his love, the Margarita. The interaction of these two characters with the novel's supernatural characters weaves together these three plots. As in many texts which are either religious or explore religious themes, mystery, which invites more than one interpretation, is particularly pronounced. Adding to this uncertainty are layers of references, allusions, and parodies which Bulgakov deploys and which draw upon and skillfully invert biblical accounts and Christian symbolism. While seeming to deconstruct and reconstruct a Christian story and plunge into the heart of an officially atheistic Soviet Union of the 1930s, the supernatural dimensions of the novel, whether they are read primarily for their magic realism or for their religious content, are intended to challenge socialist materialism rather than Christian faith. Through the voice of Woland, widely presumed to be an incarnation of Satan himself, we hear one of Bulgakov's central observations, that regardless of government or ideology or the system, regardless of attempts to refashion human beings into Soviet man and Soviet woman, that fundamentally, in essence, human nature does not change. Whether they profess themselves believers or atheists, humans still want and need the same things and continue to embody the same flaws and foibles. Things change and things stay the same. The outward appearance of people, possessions, and places may look dramatically different. But to beings concerned about the inner life of living beings, to visit one epoch is no different than to visit another. The novelty soon wears off. The trip becomes a boring one once this underlying sameness is grasped. In the meantime, For Woland, and more especially for his diabolical assistants and henchmen, particularly the self-satisfied and fairly easily contented cat, Beguimot, who enjoys chess, vodka, pistols, and lashing out at others with his sarcastic tongue, there are still plenty of amusements to be had in playing around with these new Soviet humans. A cacophony of dark comedy follows from a series of deadly portents, tricks, and mishaps, which reveal the vanity, greed, and hypocrisy of the new citizenry, turning their desire for the latest Parisian fashions into sudden nakedness as their new clothes disappear, and exposing their infidelities to public ridicule. This stands in stark contrast to the words attributed to Christ in Woland's account, in which Christ answers one of the Roman procurator's questions with, "I do not know these good people. Is that the truth?" "Yes, it is. And now tell me, why do you keep using the words good people? Do you call everyone that?" "Yes, everyone. There are no evil people in the world." That is the first time I have heard that, but maybe I know a little of life. Because the story is refracted through different narratorial perspectives, however, we cannot necessarily trust what we read. Part of the account of Jesus's interrogation by Pilate may notionally derive from the book that the master has been writing, an invisible underlying source, a story within a story, but one which is mainly hidden from view. Nonetheless, its presence is felt, and as the famous quotation from the book has it, manuscripts do not burn. Contrast Christ's apparent naive reading of humanity's universal goodness with the riposte which Satan delivers to Matthew. "You spoke your words as though you denied the very existence of shadows or evil. Think now, where would your good be if there were no evil? And what would the world look like without shadows? Shadows are thrown by people and things. There's the shadow of my sword, for instance, but shadows are also cast by trees and living beings. Do you want to strip the whole world by removing every tree and every creature to satisfy your fantasy of a bare world? You're stupid." This functions like a reductio ad absurdum argument, in which taking a statement to its supposedly logical conclusion leads one to absurdity, and thereby disproves the validity of the original principle. However, can we even trust that Woland has presented the words and thoughts of Christ and his followers accurately? Is this the ultimate straw man fallacy to misrepresent them in order to amplify an extremely binary dualism and thereby force a false choice upon the audience? Perhaps Woland is bound by another line in the novel which states, quote, "But facts, as they say, are facts, and they could not be brushed aside without some explanation," unquote. Yet the fact that Woland plays the role of a stage magician provides a useful metaphor. In the real world, magicians do not lie, but they lead their audience astray by drawing their attention away from one truth and distracting them with another apparent truth. They achieve their ends by misdirection, so that even if one is constrained to deal in facts, the selection of some facts and the rhetorical or visual sleight of hand that conceals other facts may serve the same purpose. To quote from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, "The stones of seeing do not lie, and not even the Lord of Barad-dûr can make them do so. He can, maybe, by his will, choose what things shall be seen by weaker minds, or cause them to mistake the meaning of what they see." For so much of reality is what we happen to see and how we interpret its meanings. We should expect Bulgakov's devil to present facts according to his own perception or the interpretation he wishes his listeners to place upon them. And if I may also be permitted to recall an exchange from one of my favorite childhood science fiction series, it goes thus. "What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't? My dear doctor, they're all true. Even the lies? Especially the lies."